Alright, so now let's jump to advanced AI concepts. We've covered basic concepts and we know a bit about generative AI, agentic AI, AI in general, but now let's really dive into it and start learning advanced AI concepts. These are a bunch of the concepts that we learn today. We look at neural networks and also deep learning, and then we'll talk about knowledge bases, which store knowledge in LLMs very simply. And then we have vector embeddings, which are used for retrieving information efficiently. And then we'll also look at how LLMs split text and documents into chunks. And then we talk about memory or context. So memory is an LLM's memory, just like our short-term and long-term memory. And then we'll talk about again how LLMs retrieve information by searching for information in its internal and external brain, let's say. So these are a few concepts. And now let's start with the first topic, that is neural networks. So neural networks is essentially just like is based on the neurons in the brain. It is based on the concept from human biology, that is neurons in the human brain, and it makes up the deep learning concept. So it's part of deep learning, essentially is uh, made up of neural network concepts. And if you see deep learning, it is a type of machine learning that uses artificial neural networks and works with multiple layers of neurons or multiple layers of nodes to learn from large amounts of data, just like the human brain. So it connects nodes. I'll just show you an image, and it essentially just connects nodes and is able to learn from huge amounts of data, very similar to how we learn, very similar to how neurons in the human brain function. Now let's look at how a neural network looks like. So it is made up of neurons or nodes here, as you can see. There's an input layer and there's an output layer, and it can have any number of hidden layers in between. And every connection here, the connections are basically the real meat or the real deal here. This is what forms up a neural network. So these connections are actually weighted. You have weights, and the overall goal of a neural network is to identify these weights. So you have an optimization problem which forms up a cost function. The goal is always to minimize a cost function. This is a bit theoretical, no need to go in depth here, but the idea is to minimize the cost function to solve an optimization problem. An optimization problem can be as simple as um, predicting the weather or taking the right decision in a self-driving car. Right? If we talk about this example around a self-driving car, let's say the training of a self-driving car, that is actually done based on the deep learning concept, based on neural networks. The decisions that are taken by it are taken by these neurons essentially. There's an input which can be, in the case of a self-driving car, it can be what it sees, what's the environment like, and the output can be a decision that it needs to stop at a red light, it needs to take a right in order to reach its destination. So these are some ideas that make up this topic of neural networks and deep learning. Again, how important each connection is, that is determined by its weights, right? So we have something called weights and biases and a bunch of other things, but for all practical purposes, what we need to understand is that these are related to LLMs because LLMs essentially are based on a concept called transformers, which is based on a neural network architecture. So transformers is a neural network architecture that makes up LLMs, right? So that's why we are talking about neural networks in a course that's mostly related to AI and LLMs and so on and so forth. So that's broadly the idea. Next, we look at a topic called knowledge base.